Good morning. It's Sunday morning. Yeah, Sunday. I'm walking through the park today, and whenever this time of year comes around, I am reminded of how this all started. How this park, I guess you could say, started as part of my journey. And maybe, the reflective nature of this weekend has me in this place. But I'm reminded of it all the time, and I talk about this on the podcast regularly. Everything in life, in this journey, as of yesterday, this journey was 2,500 days long. This journey was 6 years, 10 months, 4 days long. But at this time of year, I'm reminded of how this, how I progressed, specifically with activity, and how this all started with circling in a parking lot and progressed to the immediate neighborhood I live in, and then progressed a little further to the next neighborhood that I'm a part of. And then all of it was this, I just kept circling that neighborhood over and over again, and there was this fear, right? There was this fear in me. And that fear was like, oh, you can't, because I knew this park existed, right? And I knew that there was a walking entrance to get to this park. And I told myself for how long, no, I can't make it there. I can't make it there. And, it really, all of those statements were based in fear, right? Fear. And because what would happen if I made it there and then I couldn't finish the walk? Not as if I don't hold a cell phone in my hand, right? And I can't call my wife and say, hey, I went a little too far. I don't really have the energy to come home. Could you come get me? Looking back at it logically, And then one day, it was just like all of the voices that told me I couldn't do it, or I don't have that, all of the fear was gone. And it was just like, this is the day I'm going to go to the walking entrance. And I went to the walking entrance, and then I realized that there are two halves to this park. And then the voices came right back. The voices said, no. We can only do this half. Circle around this half and go home. Clearly, you are not physically fit enough to do the entire park right now. And I listened to the voices about what I couldn't do. I circled that park for however long, that half of the park at least, and went home until one day I decided the voices were quiet, and it was just like, you know what, we're going to try it. We'll give it a shot. And that was right around this time of year. And I know that because as I walk by behind me, you can see that structure, that white thing. These are all iron decorations, right, that someone made. So it's like a form, like you could see that's a bear, right? And it is wrapped in Christmas lights. See, this park does something that you drive through, and it's like a drive-through Christmas light show. And so there are all these forms all through. And, like I have penguins coming up here. I got another polar bear on this side. I got all kinds of things that are part of the light show. And the day that I started and I said, you know what, this is it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to the other half of the park. These lights were up. So whenever they come back up, but when I did that, now let me be a little thorough here. When I did that, it was the end of the season. So we were after the new year and nothing had been taken down yet, right? So we were past the Christmas season. So this is not like the anniversary of me walking through this park fully or anything like that. But so it was me starting, these things were up, and then a few weeks after starting going through this part of the park, slowly but surely these things started coming down. And there's a lot of work involved with putting them up. There's a lot of work involved taking them down. So they do stay up for quite a while, before the light shows begin, and they stay up for quite a while after the light shows end. But these symbolize the final decision to say, I'm no longer afraid. I'm no longer afraid to step forward and take my next step in this journey. And it no longer matters if I fail. It no longer matters if I don't have the energy to finish it. It no longer matters, because this is the day I'm going to do it. And I can't tell you anything particularly that makes you think that. I can't. I really can't. But every step along the way, there came a moment when it was time to do more. That's the main point of all this. And it's not just me. All of us has it. And it's always, always, always uncomfortable. It's always something that makes you nervous, something that makes you afraid. If you never feel nervous about what you're doing, if you never feel afraid about what you're doing, you are simply not challenging yourself. And you could do much, much more. And you could be a completely different person if you just started pushing the envelope. But these lights represent one of the biggest steps in my activity life. Because that day that I introduced that, because of all the other walking I had done before I got to the park, so that day that I decided this was the day, that day ended up being the very first 10-mile walk in my entire activity journey, in the entire thing. A 10-mile walk with everything else I already do in the neighborhood before that, and everything else. But there's steps like this literally everywhere in everybody's journey. And they have to want to take them. You have to be willing to take the risk. And you have to be willing to see the failure. And now I sit here because of every single time I decided now's the time. I sit here today and I could say I met my goal. The one goal that I started 6 years, 10 months, and 5 days ago now, I set a goal to lose 200 pounds and reevaluate my life. That was the goal I set when I had my little clipboard in my hand and I was sitting in that studio and I'm filling out my clipboard. That's all I kept saying to myself. I'm going to lose 200 pounds. I'm going to reevaluate my life. Lose 200 pounds and reevaluate my life. If you could say a goal you set was 6 years, 10 months, and 5 days away, if someone could tell you that, This goal you're setting is, would you do it? Would you wake up every day and do what's required? Would you track every day, no matter how inaccurate? Would you weigh and measure your food every day, no matter how inaccurate? And would you get up and move every day? Would you continue doing it no matter how many times you felt like a failure? Would you continue doing it no matter how many times you thought you sold yourself out? You didn't show up for yourself, that you really didn't care how much about yourself because you keep falling into the same bad habits, because you keep binging, you keep doing all these things. Would you keep doing it? If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. So I just told you that as of yesterday, my journey was 2,500 days long as of yesterday. And I could tell you, with whether you want to believe it or not, I could tell you with complete honesty that not a single day of that 2,500 was perfect. And in the beginning, I'm not going to lie to you, I thought they needed to be. But somewhere along the line, that all changed. And somewhere along the line, I stopped believing perfection was necessary. Because gaining didn't mean failure anymore. Gaining was just part of the process. And no matter what I did in all of this, I trusted the process. And here I can say 6 years, 10 months, 4 days, I can say I'm in the position to reevaluate my life. I'm in the position to stop everything, really look deep and say, what's next for my life? I started all of this for the love of my daughter, and being able to say I didn't die and leave her fatherless at a very young age. That's how all this started. And that goal was set in mind, tied with that why. Well, now I have some thinking to do. And now you have some thinking to do. And I'm sorry for the long video. You have some thinking to do. Because all of this, if you're not happy with where you are today, all of this starts with an examination within. Because everybody loves to examine the environment. Everybody loves to examine the environment. They say, oh, my house is not a supportive home. I have these things sitting in my house and they're weaknesses for me. And eventually, the look has to be within. The look has to be within. Because it's not up to everyone else to stop their lives so that you can complete what you're trying to complete. It's not up to everybody to do that. It's not up to everybody to change. It's not up to even if they have to change, they have to be willing. Even if your significant other is in the same position as you, and they should be changing too. Even so, they have to be willing to do it. Nobody's going to do anything just because you're doing it. This has to be, it started with you, it has to end with you. All of the problem was created by you, and all of the problem needs to be fixed by you. That's what I could say defined the last 6 years, 10 months, and 4 days of my life. All of it was my fault. All of it. No matter how much going on the upward trend, I wanted to blame other people, all of it was my fault. And I came to the point in my life on January 12, 2019, that I was finally willing to own it. When I signed that paper and became a member and decided to do a system and blindly have faith in it, and to make changes and go beyond it as I felt the need to. Because even this system came to a point where, hey, we have to grow. We have to do things different. I know what the system says is required, but we have to go beyond that. And for a lot of people, maybe you can get to that scale result. Maybe you don't have a lot of weight to lose. But for a lot of people, there are moments that they are being called to make a sacrifice. There are moments for that. And those moments are the moments you have to answer the call. This has to be a voluntary thing. And all of the people around you are going to tell you it's unnecessary. It's extreme. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? They're going to think you're crazy. They're going to think you're going off the deep end. Because in reality, what you're doing is causing them to think about what they're not doing. And as long as they think about what they're not doing, that makes them uncomfortable. And if their answer in that moment is to make you go back to the way you were so they can feel comfortable again. That's the honest truth. I'm not telling you to eliminate people from your lives. I'm just telling you to stop listening to them. It takes a lot of courage to do what you want to do in life, even if what you're doing is making you a better person. Because making yourself a better person in general, it doesn't really matter how. Making yourself a better person is going to cause everyone else to do a self-assessment just by your example. So it takes courage for that reason and that reason alone. And all of the fears that come with it, eventually they subside and you go above and beyond. But you got to be willing. You got to be willing. And with it comes a lot of hits. It comes a lot of hits because there's plenty of people that don't believe in what you're doing when you start doing it. But eventually, I could tell you in 6 years, 10 months, and 4 days that all of those voices start to get really quiet. Really quiet. And they all start whispering to each other about how extreme you are and something's wrong with her or him. They're not right in the mind anymore. This lifestyle they're living is crazy. Because they're all making sure they keep each other feeling good, even though what you're doing is making them examine themselves. In the end, this takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of perseverance, determination, motivation, all of the fancy words you want to throw here. You know them all. But most of all, it takes the unwilling nature to do anything except what you set to do. That's what it takes the most of. The unwilling to compromise nature to say this is going to happen no matter how many mountains I have to move out of my way to do it. And the utter, complete, blind faith that it's going to happen if I just do it this way. And just because things don't go exactly as you planned, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It means it's time, okay, let's take an assessment. What do I need an adjustment on? And you keep going. And then one day you're able to say, I hit my goal. I hit my goal and I'm here. And now, what's next? It's Sunday. It's the Lord's Day. It's family day. And it's football Sunday. I am so sorry for the long video. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.